On this episode of Buff's Garage, I'm going to take the Harvester of Sorrow farm truck and turn it into a highway hauler. Bumper's really inconvenient. Now, lots of you follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and you see I'm out there picking up projects, and I couldn't do it without the Harvester of Sorrow. So in this episode, I got to take it from farm truck that was abandoned for over a decade to highway hauler. So I just got back from Duct Tape Drags in Tucson, Arizona, and now I've got to go pick up some projects to keep this channel going, to keep this thing moving. And I couldn't do it without a tow vehicle, something to pull a trailer, hauling loads across the country, just basically keeping the channel going with fresh content. So let's see what we can do to make this thing reliable and highway worthy. Well, I'm back from Duct Tape Drags. Let's see if I can't get this radiator put in this truck and get this thing on the road, because I've got another project. It's always a good sign when you turn the key and there's the battery. Let's see if this thing will fire up here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, forgot about that. Forgot about that harmonic balancer needing replaced, but I've got the stuff to do that. There's a brand new radiator, 4-core aluminum radiator going in. Just get this thing in the shop, get the cooling system hooked up, and then start making it run a little better. It was running pretty good, and when I started realizing the cooling system wasn't right, I kind of stopped tuning on it. And it's got a heck of an exhaust leak. We got to fix that too. Oh, that's right. I don't like this bumper. Okay, so we've kind of started disassembling everything before I left, and I guess I'm at the point now I need to go ahead and get this radiator out, get the trans cooler lines removed. That'll give us more room to work on that harmonic balancer issue, and then just reassemble everything, get this thing tuned a little better, and then I got a road trip. So let's get this going. I'm going to get this front bumper off because it is annoying. I wish it had a trans cooler, but I can always add one. Just added one on the 18 van, so it wouldn't be difficult to add one to this. I'm having no luck with automatic transmissions lately. Getting kind of annoying. Granted, they're all 700 R4s. Not a fan of those. So if you have a vehicle you want me to look at, and it has a 700 R4, why don't you just keep it? I don't think I need it. I will be teaching myself how to rebuild 700 R4s in the future, because at this point they're really expensive to replace or get rebuilt, and I guess I'm going through them like paper plate. I don't need any more 700 R4s. Well, the good news is the fluid on the trans is bright red. Should be able to come out now. Not sure what these fans came from, but it does have a Toyota stamp on there, so maybe they came off Toyota? I don't know. I'm half tempted to just go ahead and put the clutch fan and all that back on it, but I don't have a shroud. And I kind of need that to do it correctly. So I guess we'll be going back to these and hope we don't burn up everything. Let's see. What's in the box? Just kidding, I already told you what's in the box. Aluminum 4-core radiator. If I can get it out. Thanks to nobody for this one, because I just bought it myself. I simply needed the radiator to be here when I got back from duct tape, and Came back and it's here, so that's what matters. No offense to any company, y'all want to send me radiators, hit me up. Both garage, email. Let's see how it fits. This bump is really inconvenient. Oh hey, there's a whole nest of stuff in here. I'll get that out of there first. Well, doing the first things first. Let's get this belt off. Doesn't look too bad. Now remind me that later when I'm on the side of the road changing this. And this bumper's inconvenient. Power tools make everything easier. I used to do it all by hand and there's nothing wrong with that. Switch to the big gun. As you can see, we got the center bolt out and the 3 other bolts that hold it to the balancer. So in theory, pop off, and so did the rest of the balancer. So now we're going to pull the balancer, put the new one on. Might as well refresh this while we're working on it. Restored. In the last video, I thought this was somehow going to the power steering as a cooler, but in fact it goes right back to where the oil filter is, so I'm assuming it's an oil cooler. But again, we've got pipe fittings. It's not leaking, so we're just going to roll with it. Let's get this balancer off and hopefully get the new one on with no issues. Got my puller mounted. Let's get the center bolt in there. There it goes. Starting to move. Dinner done? Yeah, it's doing what I need it to do. There we go. Yeah, so you see how this part is no longer connected to that part. Apparently has this rubber in here that is just completely gone on this one. Hopefully I can get this new one on without too much of a problem. Guess I should go ahead and do that water pump while I'm here. Get all that put back together and get back to getting this thing running good and cooling good and stopping good. Got a lot of stuff to do. Sometimes you got to get your balancer started a little bit before you can drive it home. So I just hit it with a sledgehammer. Excuse me, light in the way. One of the biggest issues with not having all my tools in one spot yet is not having everything I need when I need it. And it's a huge inconvenience to stop what I'm doing and go get it. I just happened to be running to town anyway, so it was cheaper to go buy the tap to chase these threads, and it was to go spend an hour or more digging through the pile of stuff. I just want to make sure these threads are good because I don't like starting a bolt on something as important as the crank and then finding out something's wrong and end up cross-threading it. I mean, it's not like I can just pull the crank out and replace it easily. Guess if it were easy, everybody would do it. That's what I thought. Threads are just a little marred up, meeting resistance, so we're backing off a little bit. Really, I needed a thread chaser. Good luck finding one. So we chose to go the tap route, which will, if done correctly, do what we need it to do. Now I did the old simple trick and I looked it up online, but another way to do this is you can actually take your bolt and test it to the threads. Let's find the camera, there we go. And they align perfectly. So we know this is the right tap for this bolt. You don't want to end up re-tapping it a different size and then find out after the fact. So So I ended up pulling that other water pump off, and let me say this, it does have an R stamped on it, so it honestly looks exactly like the one I bought. It ain't gonna hurt to have a new water pump after looking at what was going on with this cooling system. Well, I turned the engine, so that's torque to spec. Now we'll get this water pump back on there and then put the pulleys on, belts, all that good garbage, and have this thing maybe running again. It's crazy. This whole system needs a flush because every time I pull a hose off, or like the water pump, it's full of rust and corrosion, all kinds of nasty stuff. And so I'm just gonna fill it with water for now, even though the seasons have turned. It's definitely getting cooler out, which is welcome until it's freezing. But I'll have to just go ahead and do a full flush on this thing, and we'll do that soon. I wanna just get this thing together, get some miles on it. In case this works on the first try, which it never does. Well, this is a tight fit. Now, as usual, torque to spec. Yep. Well, we've got the radiator still out. Go ahead and put this bottom pulley on. Well, let's just go ahead and get it put on. Now, I'm no mathematician or geometry wizard, but it sure looks to me like the replacement 4-core aluminum radiator is a lot smaller than our factory one. So I guess with 4 cores you get less width. Not quite sure what the logic is on that, but we got to figure it out. Well, I had to get creative to make this fit, so I found a piece of flat aluminum, which is rare because I usually have nothing spare left over around here. But this was from the boat project, so I was able to make some minor adjustments. Let's see if it'll fit, maybe with a little coaxing. There we go. And this isn't the permanent solution, but it'll hopefully cool this thing down and get me back on the road, which is the whole idea. I mean, that looks like a fan. And that magnificent setup might actually work until I can go back to the manual fan, clutch fan and such. So we're gonna try to get this installed and see what happens. I'm still disappointed that despite putting in all the information, somehow the online parts store got it wrong. It seems taller than the other one too. I'm sure that won't come back to bite me. Done. Just as beautiful as it can be. Hopefully the hood still closes. I mean, you can always put that back on to cover it, but to be honest, it didn't really do much for us. Screw it, we'll put it back on anyway. Pontiac powered again. I guess let's get the rest of this garbage off. And let's put the belt on. Start filling this thing up. So it's on there. That one's on there. You know what I just realized? When I was trying to time this before, I was timing it with a faulty harmonic balancer, which means the top dead center line, the old 0 line, might not have been correct. That might be why it's still running like crap. Complete coincidence that it ran at all. Let's make sure that belt is centered. We don't have to shred the belt. How's the alignment? Good. Good. Everybody's where they need to be. Perfect. Okay. Belts, hoses, transmission. I think we're ready to fill this up. I apparently left the key on last night, so Snowco Boost to the rescue. Well, the belt didn't fall off, so that's good. I need to eliminate this extra hose. So I just need to get this hose replaced and just put it straight to that. Okay, radiator's full. Now I need to get it running. It's running poorly, but we'll get it running. Get the engine full, burp this thing, and hopefully have a working cooling system. From what I can tell, that top bolt that was hard to get on wasn't quite snug enough. Could be the bottom, but I'm pretty sure it was the top because it's pushing right past the gasket. So got to get back on that. Well, that's what you want to find after the fact. No wonder that side's leaking. This is going to be so much more fun trying to fix after the fact. We had that leak down there. Walked back into the shop, found that laying on the floor, so this obviously slipped out while I was, I guess, focused on the other side. So now I gotta fix it. It's gonna be fun. All right, I got everything assembled again, let's hope. And we will try filling this up for round 2. Still need to flush it. That looks gross. And unfortunately, that's in the entire cooling system. So full flush is coming, but let's just get it filled up first, and then we'll flush it. Round 2. All apart for the 3rd time. And these gaskets basically turned into wet toilet paper. We got a little higher quality gasket here. Yes, we're gonna use some of that, but better quality gasket. Hopefully get it right the first time and don't have to redo it. But that's part of it. Sometimes you don't get it right the first time or the second time. 3rd time's a charm. Maybe that's where that came from. Probably not. Probably have to do this 3 or 4 times. Anyway, I'm going to clean this off, prep those gaskets, make sure everything's clean, the engine surface, and then we're going to hopefully make it so these things don't push out and come apart like they did before. And then I really, really need to flush this whole system because it's still coming out brown, and I really don't want all of that in the new radiator, which it already is, but hopefully we can get it all flushed out so we don't have any overheating issues. Because I'm pretty sure we had overheating issues in the past. I'm just about over it, but it's in there, 3rd time. Here's what I want to do. Before I put the radiator back in and do all of that work again for the 3rd time, I know this engine is full of rust and gunk and all kinds of crap. So what I'm gonna do is probably the wrong thing, and I'm just gonna flush it from the top and hopefully get some of that stuff out of there before it completely plugs up my new radiator. I'm going to go ahead and try this, flush it out. I just don't want to see as much rust and dirt coming out as I have the last 2 times. So we're going to give that a shot. Now the goal is to get the water just as close to all the electrical stuff as possible. And you can see that's just dirty, muddy brown coming out of there. So that's good. Back flushing through a heater hose right now. Came out pretty brown at first. It's starting to clear up a little bit. There's still some color to it though. Okay, I'm feeling overly confident for no good reason. Let's see where it leaks out of this time. I'm not seeing it trickle out anywhere. But the first time I had to have it running before I saw it trickling, and the second time it was just blatantly obvious. So I guess we need to start it and see if it leaks. horrible. No idea how accurate that is. We'll have to turn these on. It gets too hot. Still a little bit of junk. Hopefully we can get all that flushed out. Getting hot. Still not completely clean yet, but hopefully we can get it flushed out. Well guys, the gauge never moved. So I'm starting to get concerned that that gauge doesn't work. So I'm going to just go ahead and order a temperature sensor. And then he had a set of gauges that were right here, and I took them down because they weren't hooked to anything. So I will reattach them and run that gauge into here, and then we'll know what the actual temperature is. I'm not trusting that gauge for the temp, so we're going to get something different. We say goodbye to the Harvester of Sorrow bumper. It was only held on with that weld right there and that weld right there. Everything else, nothing was holding it. It was just those two tiny welds. And then I noticed this whole other cooler that's on here. Not hooked up, but the whole other cooler. So he definitely didn't want this thing to overheat. There's coolers everywhere. There's cooler in there. There is a power steering cooler back there. And then he's got an extra oil cooler down there. And then I just put in a 4-core radiator. Let's hope that works. So I'm not sure what he was going for, but this wasn't gonna work. I mean, that's all that was holding it. That right there. And that right there. Probably got nuts on the back, right?
Yep.
And just like that, there's so much more room for activities. Now we'll get a regular bumper and put back in its place. That's bent up, so we'll need to get one of those mounts. It's so much better to have all this room to get right up to your engine and fix stuff. Even if it's not fixed correctly, at least it's fixed. So I'm reconnecting this vent line that's supposed to go here. And this is from the Brian Vantana 4.3 liter TBI, so it's a little snug, but it'll work for now. I've got a offset stud kit coming, so I can put my brand new air filter on. I noticed that we've got some screws in some different places, so hopefully we don't have a leak there. But I'll continue to kind of run things down, and we need to check the timing now that we have an actual harmonic balancer with a timing mark that probably was wrong before, and hopefully it's right now. So I'm going to retime it, get that thing locked down. Once the parts come, we'll get the air breather on here, and I've got more hose coming to eliminate all this garbage, and we can go just straight out of our overflow into our radiator. Done. I'd still like to do another flush on this, but it's still kind of summer, fall, so I have a little bit of time to get this flushed out before we have to put actual coolant in it. And then eventually it'd be nice to get rid of all this extra crap. So I don't know, rather than cut all that out, I wonder if I can find some non-smog exhaust manifolds, or maybe some headers if I can afford them. I'm not trying to be rich here. I'm just trying to make things simpler. But there you have it, a running and now cooling 454. Just because I have a lot of luck with transmissions, I picked up this Autometer transmission temp gauge. It looks like this. I had that 3-gauge housing that came with the truck. I just went ahead and already set that in there. It also came with a sensor. Yeah, there's the sensor right there. As you can see, I've got a little bit of an oil leak. We'll have to address that at some point. And before you start yelling at your computer, yes, I know I can use the lower line, which is the hot line coming out of the transmission. I can tee into that and get the most accurate temperatures. However, I'm also told you can use that. And it is actually threaded to match my sensor, so we're gonna start with that and see if that gives me an accurate temperature reading. I've had several people online say this does work. So I'm going to try this. If not, I'll get the kit to tee into my hotline and use that. I'm pretty sure the transmission isn't leaking from here. It's definitely leaking from the speedo, which we can fix that. That's a little rubber seal. But the rest of this is oil. We'll have to address that at another time. All right, we're gonna dig into this. All right, with the threaded piece out, threaded right in, just like it said. Got it nice and snug. It only dripped just a tiny bit. Now this, I understand, is a pressure port, so it should have fluid when the engine is running and transmission is operating. So it should give us an accurate reading. If I don't find that that meets my needs, I can always tee into that line over there. But let's give this a shot because the internet said it was good. And before you shout at the screen, let's give it a test and see how it works. Okay, I've got my temporary wires set up. Got a ground, I got a power. I've got this green wire that's running through the firewall and it's gonna go down. I haven't hooked it up yet, but let's just see if I got power. Oh yeah. So right now it comes on with the key. I can make it come on with the dash lights, but right now it's on with the key. Easier to view. So now I need to run that green one to the trans and start seeing if it'll pick up some readings. Well, it's doing something. We need to take it on a trip and see if it'll actually keep track of that temperature for us. But I guess maybe I should fix all these wires first. Well, it's the next morning and I've been filling merch orders all day today, trying to get all the new hats and shirts out. So thank you guys for ordering merch. And if you'd like to get your own merch, head over to buffsgarage.com, pick you up a shirt, a hat, sticker. We got all kinds of stuff. Even got hoodies coming for the fall weather. So pick you up one now because they are limited supply, just like these blue hats. But I think what I want to do is start by getting this spare tire down and cut off all that extra metal that we don't need so it's not banging as we go down the road. And then I want to kind of tear into cleaning up the interior, cleaning out the bed, just putting a little shine on everything. And while we're doing that, I want to get the cab lights working and check all the other lights and make sure all those are working. Work on the dash lights because I'm sure that we have a light out or two. And just make it roadworthy, reliable. Make sure I'm able to use it to actually go get cars. Because at this point, I've got 3 cars sitting out there and I got to go pick them up. So I need something to tow, and the Harvester of Sorrow seems to be what we're going to use. Also, I'm looking for a bumper. I've got one on a different vehicle that I may steal for now, but I'll be on the lookout for a bumper for this or for the other one if I steal it. Either way, this will have a different bumper because the other bumper has been removed, deleted, left the chat. It is gone. But while I'm cleaning everything up, there's a lot of dust and dirt in all the cracks and crevices, and I'm doing my best to try to get it all cleaned up as much as I can. But one of the things that annoys me about these 80s and 90s vehicles, no fault at this point because it's just so old, but the dash lights. So I had this problem in Brian Vantana, had this problem in the A-Team van, and rather than have this problem in the Harvester of Sorrow truck, I'm just going to go ahead and tackle it now while I'm in here cleaning everything up. So let me show you what I'm doing. So in this vehicle, you have to remove, well, you have to move the trim first, and then you remove this plastic cover, and then you can remove this piece, which this is a good time to clean all those little cracks and crevices. Or if you want to do something really tricky, you can actually paint this whole thing and just change the look of the interior vehicle if you want. But here's what I did. So you have to remove these little 5.5 millimeter screws, and then these gauges literally just pull out. And so I did that on all of these, including the speedo, and I went ahead and wiped them down while I was doing that. So this is the spot where the speedometer would go. And if you notice, I don't have the normal glass bulbs in there, which were all working. They're just super dim. So I've upgraded to these Oxydo. They're a 194 or, it's focus, or the 168, 2825, whatever you want to call it. They're basically the same bulbs, one slightly brighter than the other, but they fit in the slot. Now remember, with LEDs, they only work one way. You put them in and they don't come on. You got to take them back out, flip them, and put them in the other way. They're basically a one-way circuit. But because I didn't do anything with the panels behind the gauges, they're going to go ahead and shine green. So I could get green, but white works just fine. And they obviously are super bright. So, comparative. So I believe this is going to make a huge difference when driving down the road. Part of my issue is, in these older vehicles, I like to keep an eye on the gauges and, you know, be mindful of what's happening. I don't drive cars that drive themselves. They don't have auto drive. They don't have a fancy warning system that comes on and lets you know you're about to go off the road or hit somebody else. You actually have to drive the car and pay attention. You want to watch all of your gauges and make sure that you are staying engaged on your gauges. The best way to do that, especially with all these bright LEDs and HID headlights coming at you, is to have a well-lit dash. If it's too bright, it still works with the dimmer that you can dim your dash panel, but honestly, I want it as bright as possible. I want it to reflect on my face just as bright as can be, so I can see everything I need to see when I'm driving down the road. Now, unfortunately, my plastic little gauge cover here isn't in the greatest shape. The back side is pretty clean and smooth. I went ahead and wiped the dust off of it. We'll clean it up the best we can and put it back, and maybe I'll go to a pick and pull one of these days and try to find a better one. I mean, yeah, I can order one online, but I feel like every time I put new parts in an old vehicle, that's when it comes back to haunt me. So I try not to do that unless I absolutely have to. I mean, yes, I put a new coolant sensor in it, I put a new radiator in it, but put a new radiator in it didn't even fit. Let's be clear. Coolant sensor did help for now. It hasn't bit me in the butt yet. One step closer. Let you see these bad boys in action. That is much brighter than it ever was before. Still got the green tint, so it matches everything else. All this stayed green, but now you've got bright green. I like it a lot. All right, finishing up with the dash. I did not like where the tack was before. I tend to like to have my phone up here so I can watch the GPS, see where I'm going. And since the mirror was deleted and moved up here, it still works just fine. I decided to give myself kind of a clean slate. So I moved it down here on the column. I didn't have the fancy bracket to mount it to the steering column. So giant zip ties for the win. That looks like it's gonna function fine. It does cover up my oil just a little bit, but I knew the oil was looking good. So I can always, you know, move ahead to glance at it if I need to, but it frees up. What I'm really worried about is cooling temp, speedometer, fuel. I can see all of those. And right through here, or over here, however you look at it, I got my trans temp. I know I need to work on the heater because when I was turning it on, it was sparking over there. I saw that it was not making good ground, so we'll fix that. We gotta figure out this light situation. I wanna fix the cab lights because I'm not sure that all those work. I guess I should look at that right now, see if any of them work. Oh, never mind, they all work. Those work. Those work. Yep. Okay, so that fender one doesn't work. Is there even a wire back there? I'll have to take that out and figure it out. Same with the red. That tail light works. That light works. That works. That one doesn't work. That one doesn't work. Okay, we got a few to fix, but not the cab lights, thankfully. So, oh yeah, I gotta get this down. I meant to do that earlier. All right, get climbed up here. So I tried to use the 4-way on it and found that they weren't even smart enough to use a common size bolt that you would already have because of your tire tool for the wheels that are already on the thing. So it was a 15 millimeter. And at least they threaded it into the metal piece that they've got it sitting on. But still, come on. All this welding, and you couldn't weld a couple of lug studs in there and then just had a standard size lug nut holding it on, the same that matches the rest of the truck, it would have been that much easier. But then again, the tire's on the roof, so I don't think they really cared about making things easier. All right, let's get this down without breaking anything, including myself. And then I need to get that metal off of there. So I think a cutoff wheel is in order. Oh, good enough. Years and years of just swinging. And you could tell at one point somebody had created some kind of thing to go under it, and then that ejected itself or got removed. So that thing's just been sitting there swinging back and forth on the roof all these years. Well, I knew I wanted to repaint it. Now I have a good excuse. I've just been fighting my butt off to get some bolts out because I'm just kind of over this whole crane thing and then the tow truck thing in the back of the truck for now. I may change my mind later, but as I understand, the winch wasn't even working right. I know it's wired with household wiring. So I went ahead and pulled the bolts holding this pivot in, and they're massive. And then, I mean, I know the wiring is ran from the front to the back with just house wiring. I don't need this whole setup here right now. I've got enough going on in here. Most of this is scrap metal, and I'll take it to the scrap metal yard. But for now, I just want this big thing out of here. So this should be fun. Well, it is heavy duty. Emphasis on the heavy part. Oh, it just reaches. All right, that'll get me an extra half gallon a mile. And with that, I'm going to take the Harvester of Sorrow on its first official outing to get a wash and a vacuum. And then we'll come back and do a little bit more cleaning and see what we got to do to spruce this thing up. So I got her up to 50 on the way here, and it did really good. It shifted through all the gears, about 50 miles an hour. I was just over 2 grand, so about, not even 2.5. Ran really good, other than the exhaust leak annoying the crap out of me. I think it did great. So let's give her a wash, and then we'll vacuum it out. Oh, and our trans temp is keeping up, so it's actually working. It's doing its thing. And up here, got a little warm. Gotta remember to turn these on. I suck at that. I'll do better. So much cleaner in here. Really nice. Tach's doing its thing. Remind me to watch the temperature this time. Oh, 1 ton suspension is rough. I really don't like that exhaust leak. Not much I can do about it. Whew, shifts good though. 60 on the radiator. Oh, I should probably get gas. Yep. I think that was about 2 gallons right there. So, run down and get some gas. Seems like it's starving for fuel. It's a rough road, but I just kicked her into cruise at 40 miles an hour, so cruise control works. This thing is a long haul beast. I'm excited. And it disengages, perfect. It's always good to figure this stuff out before, you know, you're on the road and, oh my gosh, the cruise doesn't disengage and now you can't stop. Oh wait, did we ever fix the brakes? I mean, kind of. Good enough, they work great. No lights on. So yeah, almost forgot my fan, but I got it. You know, those floor mats didn't come very clean, but that's okay. We're gonna use them until they're done, and then we'll probably upgrade to some better ones. But it'll keep all the oil and grease off the carpet for now. In the meantime, if I can make it fit, I've been wanting that brake pedal pad because this one has been missing since I got the truck. There we go. All right. That makes that gas pedal look kind of cruddy. Let's see if I can clean that up a little bit. Super clean. I've got the aerosol foaming cleaner to the rescue. We'll give it a try on this pedal and see if we can make it look as good as the brand new one. Put a little of this on the floor mats. Maybe that'll help clean them up a little bit. Super Clean did a pretty good job of cleaning it up. I used a little bit on the floor mat, but they're pretty stained. Just to give you an idea, here's an area where I scrubbed with Super Clean, and it came clean. But I did do the door sill and missed a spot there, but it looks pretty good compared to what it was. So I decided to pull out the old Bissell Pro Heat. That's an indoor carpet cleaner, but it also has this accessory wand that has an extractor on the end. And it's not as good as the Pros, but that seat had a few stains on it. That seat no longer has stains on it. That turned out really good. I went ahead and worked on these dually fender ones. Bulbs were fine, they were just corroded sockets. So I went and cleaned each socket individually. Can't do much about these. But even though that one's all cracked up, it's now working. Same for that one. Now to deal with this. I'm gonna try to hit a pick and pull tomorrow and see if I can't find a tailgate for this. That's why I didn't get too upset about stealing this. I know. It's beautiful and for sale. It could be yours. Hit me up. Well, since we got functioning parking lights and the inside is all wet, still drying out, I figured I want to take it for a drive tomorrow. And it's going to be hot. So why don't we try the AC? That would just be silly. There we go. Now once again, I'm doing this the wrong way. I've got my gauge hooked up. We're going to see if we can't get this thing going. Now as per normal, I would tell you to evacuate the system, put a vacuum on it, see if it'll hold, check the leak. I'm pretty sure my Schrader valve on the high side is bad. Probably this one too. Let's just find out. This is the right way to do it, but I've had to kickstart these things before. There we go. But I believe we might need a new compressor. Well, if you can handle the tensioner pulley noise, it's pretty darn cold in here. So let's play it safe, get a new tensioner pulley, and look into what it's going to cost for that new pancake compressor. just impressed it worked at all. But whatever's happening to the compressor, it's putting enough load on that tensioner that tensioner probably going to rattle apart. So we're going to have some windows down driving for the next few days. But that's okay. Nothing better than driving your truck with the windows down. All right. We've tested it. It kind of works. We'll make it better. Well, I called my buddy Jeff at lugnutguys.com. I mean, because we've got some missing lug nuts here. Talking about maybe upgrading to either some stainless simulators or maybe a paint and center cap and chrome lug nut combo. I don't know. I'm all about painting. I can do that. So I went ahead and primed that one. I started to prime this one, ran out of paint. But it's also missing a lug nut. I kind of want to dress it up and give it a better look. Yes, we're going to end up painting it, but what color should I make the wheels? I don't care for black per se. I'm just not into that. This is not my style. I do love shiny stainless, chrome, that kind of stuff, but I can also paint the wheels. I thought about painting them white, but I don't think it fits this. Probably do a chrome or stainless center cap and chrome lug nuts, front and rear. So what color wheels should we do? I'm all about painting these. I'm okay just painting some steel wheels. You guys let me know. This morning I'm up and out early to head to a pick and pull about an hour away. I've got all the tools loaded up. And hopefully I can find a few parts to kind of complete the package that is the Harvester of Sorrow. I am looking for radiator shrouds so I can convert this back to a manual fan. Looking for a hood and a tailgate, front bumper. So I'm going to head that way, see what I can find, and we can get to making this truck amazing again. Running good. Oh, don't forget to turn the fans on. This is what lack of overdrive looks like. That's why they had this thing fitted with the gear vendor's overdrive on the TH400. Sitting at 65, we're running 3,000 RPM. Part of that is the gearing in the rear end, but also 454 TH400s for maximum towing. I mean, this is what you get. So I can save fuel by just dropping the speed a little bit. Got a little bounce in our tack there. So I don't know how much fuel that would save us, but when towing, I'm sure it would help. Well, I gave it its first 20 miles and ended up at the Red Green store. The old 710 cap, missing the gasket, so it was puking a little bit of oil. They didn't have one. They didn't have one in Tulsa, so I've got one on order. Grabbed a quart of oil just in case, but right now we're still looking good on the oil. Went ahead and finally got a little splice steel to eliminate the T that was in here, which now simplifies that whole setup. And I can put my cap back on. Let's see if I can, yep, still got it. I do save parts just in case. In this case, I knew I wanted to reuse that. So after this trip, this thing will be ready for a radiator flush. So I got about an hour to go. It's, you know, about 50 miles, so not quite an hour, but in this thing, I'm not going to be pushing it too hard. Either way, we'll keep an eye on the temps. See if I can make it an hour to the west without any further problems. Well, I got about 15 miles left to go. Truck's doing great, not overheating. Trans sitting around 215. It's bouncing between 210, 215. I'm not too unhappy with that. I've tried to keep it around 55, not go any faster than that. Really don't need to. It'll do highway speed, but you're gonna lose a lot of fuel economy. And right now, doing a shakedown, I just don't want to put it through that kind of stress. I'm going to pull over, check all the vitals real quick, and then finish out my 15 miles. It may seem silly, but It's a good spot to stop and get a drink before I go out there. And might as well check everything while I'm doing it. Now we have this issue. That doesn't seem right. Wasn't sure I was gonna make it. Running out of battery real fast. I might actually pull this off. Hopefully they have an alternator. If not, it's a long way to the parts store. Come on. And I made it. Yard entrance. All right. He gave me a nice little ticket showing me what row these vehicles are in. He gave me the Chevrolets and the GMCs. Row 5, 6, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. So basically all of this area over here. So I'll just head that way and start looking. I guess this is the Chevy row. This would be row 3. Supposed to be a couple of them in row 3, but I really want to look at the ones, whether 1 and 9. A couple of them in 5. So let's go look. Need some Abbey parts. On this second row, towards the... Another day. Well, no bumper, no hood. Nothing we need here. Here's a 90. Pretty much gutted also. Wait a minute. It's got a dent in it. Not sure if that's the hood for this one. Oh, it's rough. It's like they used house paint on it. It's playing cleanup on it. It'll take a while. But straight. Unfortunately, that other bumper was pretty banged up. And then there's not one here, so keep looking. Hello, little lady. Yeah, this is not perfect. But I think she's going home with me. Pretty sure I saw, oh, dang it. I was afraid of that. Hey, though, look at that. So I found a potential hood that's in rough shape and a bumper that looks really good if I can get it out of here. But I haven't found a radiator shroud, a clutch fan that I'm sure will go the right direction. I don't want to go pull that one and find out it spins the other way, which I'm pretty sure it does, looking at the way the fan's oriented. Ooh, this looks better. Look at that big old dually. With the turbski. I wonder if that turbo's any good. Yeah, no bearing issue. All right, so we got our AC compressor on this side. Oh, too bad it's got that ding right there. I can just come steal it all off of one truck. That's an alternator. It's probably in the same shape as the one I got, but we should try it. See, this one's got a gasket. I got a new one coming tomorrow, but until then, we'll save him. Staring me right in the face, I didn't even look at his hood. Oh, dang it. Pretty much in the same spot as the one I've got. It's too bad. So the best hood we've got has thick house paint on it that I gotta strip off. See, I was thinking about doing something like this. I kind of like that if it had the center caps. Well, let's look in the back. Spare. Lots of wood. It's door number 2. This was the red variety. Somebody didn't like that dash. They just ripped it right out. What I'm looking for is the ever elusive fold down drink holder. You don't see them very often. It's actually a really, really nice seat. I don't see anything I can't live without. That one's got a ding on it. Don't be using jet power to steal my parts, man. Oh, it's hard to get. Oh, man. kidding. I worked hard for those parts. Don't be taking my parts. All right, we're headed back down to the truck. Hopefully I can find it again. What row am I in? I don't know. Well, I thought about this bumper, but it's pretty mangled up on that side. So I got this bumper off of the maroon truck over here, but it's valance underneath is kind of scarred up. Plus it doesn't have the openings for the tow hooks. Plus this one had these old school fog lights, but mostly I just needed it for the tow hooks. So we'll see what they charge me for this extra piece. But this bumper is in pretty good shape. It's got one little ding way down here. I can probably hammer that out. But add in the hood, tailgate that I already hauled out of here. We got a pretty complete truck now. Let's go see how it fits. Development. My alternator from U-Pick Junkyard is for a diesel. And I thought, well, surely that's got to be the same as for 454. And it is not. The front case is different than the front case of this, so I can try to limp it to the parts store and hope they have one. All right, here's the reality. Does it fit? No. Will it get us to home? Probably not. But will it get us to a parts store just a few miles away to get another one? Probably. So I'm gonna hook everything back up and see what happens. Why did you tell me I had dirt all over me? Yeah, I'm filthy, but we have about 5 miles to the closest store, and this is either going to work or it's going to drastically fail. Let's find out. Oh, whether it's working or not, it's charging. Let's just get there. All I can say is that it's charging. That's better than the old one was doing. Oh man, I had no idea it was going to put me on the freeway. That's not good. Stop sign. Watch the temps. Temps are still good. But that's not good. Jake, brake it, buddy. Jake, brake it. There you go. Come on, truck, you can do it. I'll reward myself with burger and fries if you make it. And for you, I'll get you some premium or something. I don't know. What a car's like. Not to overheat. We're half a mile. It's not quite charging, but it's better than nothing at this point. Right there. All right, O'Reilly's. I made it. Back to the red green store. Thank the Lord. We made it. I beat the guy working on the battery over there. Now let's test it. Everything looks good. Everybody's where they should be. Better. Let's get our fans cooling things off here. Well, everything seems to be functioning a lot better than it was. I'm actually making voltage again. Fans are cooling. And I have a whole truck bed full of parts. for not a lot of money. Feeling pretty good about that. It's been a long day, but it's not been a bad day. The weather's beautiful, and I like wrenching. Stubborn bolts and problems popping up, that's not always the best, but I can deal with an alternator, and we can switch one out. It's not a big deal. So now I'm going to celebrate by taking myself out for a burger and a shake. Lots of traffic. Look at the temp, doing good, making juice. This Mustang wants over. I'm not a crowd, so we might as well let it in. Not going to hurt me, Mustang. Well, that was one tasty burger and a nice cool frosty beverage. Well, I double checked everything under the hood, made sure it was all good, and the sun's going down, so I think it's time to head home. Well, no idea if it needs it, but I went ahead and picked up a new coil. I'll start diagnosing stuff when I get home, but I've got one in case. I mean, it's a 20-25 minute drive to get there. Would you look at all these lights lit up? I don't like the orange strobe. I think it's gonna have to come down. But all those lights I worked on, they're all working. Well, except this, but you guys saw the red tailgate I got. It has the lights on it. Like, that's probably why it got left. It's because somebody didn't want to deal with the lights. It's missing the shiny band down the middle. But I don't care. It's got the lights. Look at them lights. All right, let's get this thing home. It's had a long day. It's done its job. It's almost got me home. And I've got a solution for this. First of all, these are too high. The person that had it before raised them up because these holes are wallered out. But I found a nut zert that I'm going to try on all these. And if so, I can move it back down and we can grind these down, cover them up with some short strand fiberglass. I fixed this one and it's just a flopping again. All right, let's go home. Those are bright. So I talked about the nut zerts, the rivet nuts, whatever you want to call them. So where the metal had pulled out, this one's not so bad, this one's not so bad. But this one was really pulled out. But this is what it looks like inserted. And so we can actually knock this down and fill it and just make it nice and smooth again and move our mirror back where it's supposed to be, which is down here. With the rivet nut holding them in place, they should hold a lot better than just self-tapered into the door. Don't mind all the mess I gotta clean up. I mean, they even tried to epoxy it on, but that's what these should look like. They're set into the door, and then once you use the tool, you do have to use the tool. It bolts in. You hold this nut while you tighten, and it basically pinches from the backside and anchors it. So it shouldn't go anywhere. It's definitely going to last longer than these self-tappers and this crappy epoxy. Now, it's just a coincidence that I got these copper-colored bolts here. They just happen to be right next to the nut zerts or nut rivet or whatever you want to call them. But I really like how they kind of offset with the orange. But that's solid. That's solid. That's solid. Anchored, proper bolt into a nut that is anchored into the door. And then we can come back and fix all this with some body work, because we're going to have to do the whole truck. Because now we have a different colored tailgate and a different colored hood to replace this one that looked really, really good until you get to, yeah, oh, well, don't worry about that. Except we do worry about that because that's not really easily fixable, and that was only 40 bucks. Just like this was only 40 bucks. Just like that tailgate was only 40 bucks. So I kind of made out pretty good. Yeah, I missed that one piece. My bad. I can go back and look for it, but I'm going to try to find a different grill anyway. So setting inside, I don't need this little mirror, but you can now see that this mirror is at proper height. It now points back like we need it to. It just looks better. It's not clear up here in the middle of everything. This one's useless. Other than telling me my blind spot about right here, it doesn't do anything. But I could put a blind spot mirror on this and then eliminate this completely. Well, I've done some research and I looked at, oh yeah, look at my pretty wheels. Lugnutguys.com, they're actually setting me up with a set of stainless dually simulators that'll make them look better. But for right now, I kind of like the copper. I just had it laying around, and yeah, it definitely makes it look different. But I don't have silver, so copper it is. Anyway, I don't want to paint this. I want to see if I can brighten this up. And I've looked at lots of options, and I hit it with some rubbing compound over here to where it doesn't look half bad comparatively. But that's going to take forever. So I'm going to employ the buffer and immediately destroy that buffing wheel. But we'll see how far we can get with the machine. And then I can come back and fill in the gaps by hand. Let's see how this goes. Well, here's the verdict. Unpolished, polished. But it doesn't get very far. I can only do that stretch right there. And it takes a lot of hand cleanup. So I think what I'm going to do is get one for the drill. Little like power ball, or what do they call it, to hook onto the drill, and just use the drill because it'll be able to reach up into all those different areas, and with smaller sections at a time should be able to just hand wipe it down versus. So I'm going to come back and use the drill once I get the little buffer piece for it. But it worked. Looking snazzy. Realized I don't have any low beams simply because they were a pain in the butt to get out. So we'll have to get to the store and get some low beams. Those are sealed, so it is what it is. I can put in HIDs, I can put in LEDs, but for right now, we're just gonna leave it the way it is because it's clean and simple. Put those back in it. Yeah, copper really doesn't match, but definitely looks different. And for now, different's good. Now, if you remember, the truck had no air breather on it whenever I got it, and it was missing the stud. So even though I bought an air breather, I've been sitting on the shelf for quite a while. Super excited to finally reveal. Woo! I almost lost it. The new air cleaner lid. There we go. Not too shabby. Contrary to belief, it is actually not a Chevrolet, nor is it a Pontiac. It's a GMC. But it was the cheapest one on Amazon, so that's a win. This was already on here, also a win. Don't hate me. Last but not least, I'm gonna fix a problem I've had since pretty much day one, and that's these. Well, it's not even. I don't even have one over there. These mud flaps. I once again bought the cheapest ones on Amazon. Hopefully they'll fit. If not, we'll make some holes and make them fit. Not too bad for the cheapest on Amazon. I think it'll do the job. Especially once I got the proper size tires on here instead of these monster all-terrains. This is a two-wheel drive truck. It doesn't need oversized tires on it. So we'll fix that later. But I like the mud flaps. They're working for me. They should be catching the flinging rocks instead of whatever trailer's behind me. Look at that pretty van. It's for sale. All right, I grabbed the come along for tomorrow's adventure. I'm gonna go pick up another project. But in the meantime, let's see if we can't get these gaps a little better. That's better. Oh, this side's a little too tight. Did it with the tailgate down. Plenty of pull in. Hopefully what we're trying to do is stretch her out a little bit this way, and then it relaxes. It's closer to where it needs to be. Unfortunately, all this garbage that's been added might be putting stress on these things and pushing them out a little bit. So let's see how that helped. Yep, tired of being part of the Orange Strobe Club, so I'll get that antenna later. It's not hurting anything right now, but I just can't stand the orange strobe. Had to take it off the van, took it off the truck. All right, let's finish prepping this truck for the road trip. Got the mud flaps, check. Got the copper wheels, being different. Oh, once this thing's all polished, ooh, sneak peek. Got the mirrors fixed. Let's get them facing the right direction. There we go. Check. Air cleaner, perfect. Bumper, solid. We'll find us some low beams at the store. All right, I think we're about ready to hit the road tomorrow morning. Well, good morning. I've got the truck all loaded up with tools. My trailer's already loaded. I can't use it right now, so we're gonna go on a standby. It's only 50 bucks. Head over to U-Haul, pick up a transport there, hopefully be able to load this thing and get it home, and then we gotta get it running. Temps look good, making voltage, plenty of fuel. Ever since I put the air breather on, it's shooting me a service engine soon, so hopefully it relearns along this trip. There, I got on it pretty good and it went away, and then it came right back as soon as I started slowing down. So let's get on it on this main road here. May not look like a main road, but it is. Ugh. It's a rough main road, but you see it went away. It just needs a little bit more time to learn, and it'll be good. It's nice having the mirror. I'm actually able to see behind me. Pretty cool. Got my U-Haul trailer all hooked up. Found out I don't have trailer light wiring. That's fun. So I'll stop off and get some of that. And then we're headed to get the new project. Big surprise, I'm back at the Red Green store. I went ahead and picked up some trailer wiring. I can at least be somewhat legal. And then got a little tester here just because I forgot mine. So should be able to get this thing going pretty quick. All right, we got the trailer lights professionally wired in. How to just move my shop to here because I think I spend more time here than I do in my own shop. Anyway, I gotta get back on the road to go get this project. Just needed lights. Well, all in all, the old Harvester Sorrow tow truck did a great job of picking up the new project, which you're going to see on another episode. But now I've got about 60 miles, around an hour-ish towing. I'm not going to overdo it. It's not too hot today, but first time really pulling with this trans. I don't want to overdo it. So 60 miles, around an hour. Let's see if we can make it home. All right, note to self, do not let fuel tank get less than 1/4 of a tank. I was about 1/8 of a tank, and when you get off the interstate there, I was pulling off to get fuel anyway. I was gonna grab it before I got there, decided to grab it on the way back, thinking that I was saving time, right? Well, at 1/8 of a tank, when you come off the interstate, you're on a hill like that. Well, that's just enough to slosh all the fuel to the back. Remember that from the other video? And then this thing won't pick up fuel. So just changing the fuel pump, sock, all that might improve it, but I really think it's a design flaw in the truck that once you get a certain angle, that's it. You're not touching that last 1/8 of a tank. So it is what it is, but got a really nice guy. He's actually right up the road here in Joplin, Missouri. He has a shop, but man, he didn't hesitate. He pulled up in his truck, threw out a log chain and said, "Let me tow you to the gas station. Let me show you." I I was just down there off the interstate. He pulled me into here. So it wasn't very far, but it was very meaningful because instead of sitting on the side of the road, going to get a fuel can, testing that that's the issue, you know, the walk back and forth, then testing it to make sure that is the issue, plus the battery is low. Even though this is a good battery, I might need to put that second battery in this truck because running the auxiliary fans and everything else, it's not happy. In fact, it's not happy right now. So anyway, it's running again and we're back on the road. Now you may be asking yourself, why am I back at the Red Green store again? Well, believe it or not to buy parts for the Harvester Travel-All, but I'm noticing to keep the fans on and keep everything cool, it's really draining my battery. And even though that's got a brand new alternator, it's hard. It's not keeping up. So this truck originally had a dual battery setup for all the accessories and whatnot that went on it. And until I get the mechanical fan back on it, we're just gonna add a battery. Now this does a couple things. First of all, gives me a little more peace of mind and some juice to get home and grab all the other vehicles and hauling and all that. But also, when I'm doing another revive and drive or picking up a vehicle and I need a battery, I'm gonna have a set of battery cables and a battery ready to go, charged. I can also pull this battery and run a winch off of it for the trailer, to winch something on, off, whatever I need to do. I've got an extra battery for that. So really, it's going to be able to charge. So in theory, I've always got a backup battery ready to go for whatever comes at me. So, all right, so got the second battery set up here. And I prefer top post. There's a couple of reasons. I explained it earlier. That way we have a second battery if we ever need it. I'm just not a fan of side post batteries, but that's what I got to deal with. Got my power and grounds run over. Got to clip those so I'm not a complete barbarian. And I had somebody say, please cover those so they don't arc out. Well, I wasn't concerned about them arcing out because they are secured down, so they shouldn't be bouncing around under the hood. But I found this old floor mat in the bed of the truck, and I cut it in half, and that's gonna be our covers. It's got a rubber backing and carpet, so if it does spark, you know it's gonna immediately light on fire and burn the whole truck down. And just like that, I'm ready to get back on the road. It may seem like I stop a lot, but you have to understand, I'm kind of working with untested product here. It's not like I just rolled up on the dealership and pulled this off the lot. No, nothing's sparking and melting down, so that's good. All right, now home. Well, there you have it, guys. I've officially turned the Harvester of Sorrow from a farm ornament into a highway hauler. Now, there's going to be more upgrades along the way, and I've got more projects to pick up, so you're going to see all that right here on Buff's Garage. I do have a question, though. We've got these cool shirts for Brian Vantana. Would you like to see one for the Harvester of Sorrow? If so, drop a comment below, and we'll get the design ready and set it up for pre-orders. And also, somebody buy the A-Team van. It's just sitting here. It's so lonely. It needs to be cherished and driven by someone else. All right, guys, so that's all I've got for this week's episode. There is more coming on the Harvester of Sorrow, and I got more projects coming every day. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching Buff's Garage.